There's a quiet power that exists in those who have learned to guard their energy, hold their boundaries, and live authentically. Toxic people feed on chaos, reaction, and insecurity. They thrive when they sense weakness or uncertainty. But when you operate from a place of self, respect, calm, and clarity, you send a subtle message: I am not yours to manipulate. One of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, ways to protect yourself from toxic people is to speak less and listen more. At first glance, this might seem counterintuitive. Shouldn't you assert yourself and make your voice heard? Yes, but there is a profound difference between asserting yourself and oversharing, reacting impulsively, or giving energy to those who thrive on manipulation. When you speak less, you create a space for observation. Toxic individuals rely on others revealing too much. Our fears, insecurities, or emotional triggers become their playground. Every word you utter is like fuel to a fire they are trying to ignite. By restraining yourself, you take away that fuel. Silence, in this sense, is not passivity. It is intentional, strategic, and deeply powerful. Listening, on the other hand, is a form of quiet strength. When you listen more than you speak, you gather insight into motives, patterns, and behaviors without exposing your vulnerabilities. You understand the situation fully before deciding how or even whether to respond. This creates a natural authority. People, especially toxic ones, sense when someone is fully aware, attentive, and grounded. They realize quickly that their usual tactics, provocation, guilt, manipulation, will not work on someone who observes before reacting. Furthermore, listening deeply allows you to connect with others authentically while maintaining boundaries. Toxic people may attempt to manipulate with charm or subtle pressure, but when you are fully present in your listening, you filter what deserves your energy. You respond not from fear, habit, or emotion, but from clarity and intention. This is transformative because it shifts the power dynamics. Instead of giving control to someone else's agenda, you are calmly steering your own ship. Silence also communicates confidence. When you don't feel compelled to fill every space with words, it signals to the world, and especially to toxic individuals, that you are comfortable in your own presence. You are not seeking validation, approval, or attention. And nothing unnerves a toxic person more than someone who is self-contained, unshakable, and deliberate in their speech. In essence, speaking less and listening more is like holding an invisible shield. Every word you withhold, every careful observation you make, protects you from unnecessary conflict, emotional drain, and manipulation. It is a quiet, unspoken declaration: I am present, I am aware, and I am not yours to control. One of the most liberating silent behaviors you can cultivate is the refusal to seek validation from others. Toxic people feed on the need for approval. They sense insecurity, self-doubt, and the compulsion to be liked or accepted, and they exploit it. But when you anchor your self-worth internally, grounded in your values, principles, and sense of purpose, you become untouchable. Refusing to seek validation doesn't mean arrogance or coldness. It means you understand that your value is not dictated by anyone else's opinions, criticisms, or praise. Toxic individuals thrive on reactions. They want to see you bend, over-explain, or justify yourself. When you don't give them that satisfaction, their influence diminishes. The more you accept yourself fully, flaws and all, the less they can manipulate your emotions or cloud your judgment. This behavior is silently magnetic and disarming at the same time. Toxic people fear those who are content in their own skin because they cannot be easily controlled or predicted. They cannot provoke jealousy, guilt, or insecurity when there is no internal fracture to exploit. You become a presence that is steady, unwavering, and self-contained. Living without seeking external validation also allows you to make choices from a place of authenticity rather than fear. Decisions are made in alignment with your values, not in response to the opinions of others. You learn to trust your intuition, honor your needs, and take pride in your boundaries. And this inner certainty communicates quietly yet powerfully: I am enough. Your approval is irrelevant. Every time you resist the urge to justify yourself, every time you pause before seeking someone else's affirmation, you reinforce a simple truth. Your peace and your worth are non-negotiable. And that quiet, consistent confidence terrifies toxic people more than any argument ever could. Boundaries are the silent, invisible walls that protect your energy, your peace, and your dignity. For toxic people, boundaries are like kryptonite. They fear them because they expose weakness, manipulation, and control as futile. Yet many people struggle with boundaries, often bending them to avoid conflict, please others, or be liked. The truth is when you consistently enforce your boundaries, you communicate a level of self-respect and mastery that is profoundly intimidating to anyone who thrives on chaos. Setting boundaries is not about building walls to isolate yourself. It's about defining where you end and someone else begins. It's saying, without drama or justification, I am in charge of my life and my energy, and I will not allow you to violate that. Boundaries can be small, like not responding to negativity, or large, like distancing yourself from habitual manipulators. What matters is consistency. Toxic people fear inconsistency because it gives them an opening. When your boundaries are steady, predictable, and unwavering, you remove the leverage they rely on. Keeping boundaries requires discipline and courage. It often means saying no to guilt-tripping, criticism, or emotional manipulation without offering excuses. It also means standing firm in the face of anger, pushback, or attempts to provoke you. The power of this behavior lies in its quietness. You don't need to shout, argue, or over-explain. Every act of consistent boundary keeping is a silent declaration. I am not yours to manipulate. I am not yours to control, and I will not compromise my integrity for your comfort. Boundaries also serve as a mirror of your values. They show others silently but unmistakably what is acceptable and what is not. People may test them, but the moment they see your resolve, fear replaces their usual tactics. They realize that your energy is protected, your decisions are yours, and their influence is limited. Ultimately, setting and keeping boundaries is a daily practice of self-love and courage. It is a form of silent resistance against toxicity, and it signals to the world that you operate from strength, clarity, and dignity. In maintaining your boundaries, you send a clear message: I respect myself, and I demand that others do too. One of the most disarming silent behaviors is the ability to remain calm in the face of provocation. Toxic people thrive on reactions. They feed on anger, fear, guilt, and defensiveness. When you respond impulsively, you give them exactly what they want, control over your emotions and your energy. But when you choose not to react, you reclaim that control, and silently, powerfully, you make them fear your composure. This behavior is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about responding intentionally, not reflexively. It's about recognizing that your peace is far more valuable than proving a point, winning an argument, or satisfying someone else's need to stir conflict. Silence, in this sense, is a tool. Every moment you pause before responding is an act of self-respect, an assertion that your energy cannot be hijacked. Remaining unshaken communicates something deeper than words ever could. I am not ruled by chaos. I am not available for manipulation. Toxic people often escalate when they see calmness because it shatters their expectations. They expect fear, defensiveness, or anger. Your steady presence becomes a mirror they cannot control, and it exposes their tactics for what they are: desperate, ineffective, and powerless against someone who is emotionally anchored. There is also strength in observing before responding. By refusing to react immediately, you gain clarity. You see the situation fully, understand the dynamics, and can choose a response that aligns with your integrity and long-term goals. Sometimes, the most powerful response is none at all, simply holding space and letting their words pass without impact. Over time, this habit builds an aura of invincibility. People begin to realize that they cannot provoke you into a reaction. They cannot manipulate your emotions. And that realization quietly terrifies toxic individuals because it signals, you cannot control me. My peace is non-negotiable. In short, choosing not to react is not weakness, it is strength. It is the silent roar of someone who understands their value, protects their energy, and refuses to be anyone's puppet. And in that silence, toxic people learn to fear you, not for what you say, but for what you refuse to give them power over your mind and heart. There is profound power in observation, especially in a world where people often feel the need to overshare, justify, or explain themselves. Toxic individuals exploit what is visible. They manipulate what you reveal about your fears, insecurities, and weaknesses. By choosing to observe more than you share, you protect yourself while gathering clarity about the dynamics around you. Observation is not passive. It is an active form of self-protection and intelligence. When you quietly watch, you notice patterns and detect manipulations and understand motives without exposing yourself. You see the red flags before they escalate. You recognize attempts at control before they take root, and you silently prepare your response or your exit without giving anyone a hint of vulnerability. This is an invisible armor that toxic people fear. By observing rather than oversharing, you also gain an inner clarity that others cannot disrupt. Toxic people often thrive on ambiguity, confusion, or emotional reactions. They feed on uncertainty and unpredictability in others, but when you calmly watch and process situations internally, you remove that power. You are fully present, fully aware, and fully grounded while the toxic person continues to reveal themselves, often without realizing it. This behavior also builds a quiet authority. People notice when someone speaks less but understands more. When your words are deliberate and your insights precise, others pay attention. Toxic people, in particular, fear this because it disrupts their usual manipulative patterns. They cannot push, deceive, or intimidate someone who is consistently attentive, reflective, and measured. Observation is also a practice of self-respect. It says, without a word, I choose what I share. I am not an open book for anyone to exploit. And in that silent restraint, toxic people feel loss of control. They cannot predict your moves, cannot manipulate your reactions, and cannot steal your power. Ultimately, the habit of observing more than sharing cultivates wisdom, patience, and unshakable strength. It teaches you that knowledge is power and restraint is freedom. And in that freedom, toxic people recognize something they cannot conquer: your awareness, your sovereignty, and your calm, strategic presence. Self-respect is a quiet, yet powerful form of resistance against toxicity. It is expressed not through words, but through consistent actions that honor your worth, your boundaries, and your integrity. Toxic people fear those who carry themselves with authentic dignity because it signals that they cannot manipulate, control, or belittle you. When you act with self-respect in every interaction, every decision, and every gesture, you create an aura of invincibility that is both subtle and undeniable. Practicing self-respect means making choices that align with your values, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. It means refusing to compromise your principles to please others and refusing to tolerate disrespect or dishonesty. Every time you uphold your standards, you silently communicate, I will not diminish myself for anyone. This consistency terrifies toxic individuals because they thrive on inconsistency. They exploit people who waver, who bend, who make excuses for themselves. Self-respect is also evident in the way you communicate. It's the calm firmness in your voice, the way you refuse to engage in gossip or unnecessary conflict, and the manner in which you hold space for yourself without allowing others to fill it with chaos. Toxic people can sense this internal authority. It makes them hesitant, cautious, and ultimately fearful of crossing your boundaries. Another critical aspect of self-respect is self-care. Prioritizing your well-being, emotional, mental, and physical, is not selfish. It is a declaration of worth. Toxic people often try to drain the energy of those who neglect themselves. But when you honor your needs, maintain your routines, and safeguard your health, you send a clear, silent message: I am not a resource for exploitation. Finally, practicing self-respect in every action creates a feedback loop of confidence and empowerment. The more you act in alignment with your values, the stronger your inner authority becomes. Toxic people may attempt to intimidate or manipulate, but your unwavering self-respect makes those attempts futile. They begin to fear you, not because of confrontation, but because they recognize a strength within you that cannot be shaken, silenced, or stolen. In essence, self-respect is the cornerstone of silent power. It transforms ordinary actions into statements of dignity, courage, and invulnerability. And when practiced consistently, it makes you untouchable in the eyes of those who thrive on control and chaos. Walking away is one of the most profound silent behaviors that communicates power. Toxic people rely on your engagement. They want your energy, your reaction, your attention. When you walk away calmly, without argument, without pleading, without drama, you strip them of their control. This act, simple yet powerful, signals something every toxic person fears: I am in charge of my life, my energy, and my choices. Walking away without drama is not about avoidance or weakness. It is the ultimate exercise in strength and self-respect. It requires courage to release the need for closure, to let go of proving yourself, and to resist the pull of emotional chaos. It's about recognizing that your peace is more valuable than being right or winning an argument. The quietness of this choice amplifies its power. Toxic individuals sense the loss of leverage immediately. They are used to conflict, manipulation, and attention, but you deprive them of all three with a single, composed step away. This behavior also reinforces boundaries. When you leave a toxic situation without argument, you make it clear that your limits are non-negotiable. You don't have to justify yourself or explain your departure. Your calm exit is a silent declaration: I will not be dragged into toxicity, and I will not compromise my well-being for someone else's drama. Walking away without drama is liberating, both for you and for those around you. It demonstrates that true strength is not loud. It is deliberate, controlled, and intentional. Toxic people who thrive on unpredictability and chaos quickly learn that they cannot dictate your emotions, influence your decisions, or steal your peace. And in that realization, they begin to fear you, not because you confront them aggressively, but because your calmness and composure are unshakable. Finally, walking away silently sends a message to yourself: you value your life, your time, and your energy. You are sovereign over your experiences. Every step you take away from toxicity is an affirmation that you choose freedom, dignity, and inner peace over chaos and control. And over time, this habit transforms your presence into something truly formidable, a quiet strength that demands respect without needing to prove itself. The most powerful behaviors are often silent. They are subtle, deliberate, and rooted in self-awareness, speaking less and listening more, refusing to seek validation, enforcing boundaries, controlling reactions, observing without oversharing, practicing self-respect, and walking away without drama. These 7 behaviors cultivate a presence that toxic people cannot manipulate. True strength is not loud or aggressive. It is calm, consistent, and rooted in integrity. When you embody these behaviors, you create an invisible shield around your energy and your life. Toxic individuals recognize it instantly. They fear it because it cannot be shaken, exploited, or controlled. Embrace these silent powers. Live them daily and watch as your presence transforms not only how others perceive you, but also how you perceive yourself. Your quiet strength is your most formidable weapon, and it will protect, empower, and elevate you in ways that words alone never could.